as well. He was chairperson undergraduate council between 1997 and 1999 of the postgraduate council between 2003 and 5. His areas of specialization include constitutional law, administrative law, human rights laws, laws of election, and much more. We are honored and privileged to have you here with us, sir, today. Thank you for gracing the occasion. Without any further ado, I request Chief Guest B. Vijay Kumar, sir, to formally inaugurate the event and enlighten us with his keynote on theme Preparation for Overall 7 Criteria in NAAC Accreditation Process for the Legal Education Institutes. Over to you, sir.
Can you?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Sri Krishna More, my friend and colleague Dr. Manikela Rao, the principal, Dr. Aparna, the student who is comparing this event, all the learned colleagues who are joining us today this morning. A very good morning to you. Before I begin formally, I would like to recognize the services rendered by two sets of people, and I would like to recognize them first because the law manual was not there earlier. As the law manual was not there, and from 2017 a new method of assessment and accreditation based on what you call it as online assessment by and large, which came into force in 2017. The position of the law schools and the law colleges have become even more worse from what it was prior to 2017. I will just give you an example and then you will understand why and what we have done so far. The National Law School of India University, to which I am a founding member right from 1988, when it went for accreditation under the new scheme, the NLS, which is ranked as number 1, the NLS which is the National Institutional Ranking Framework of the Government of India, and possibly only law school which got into the international ranking in the top 300 institutions. We were shocked to see that the NLS got a score of 3.01. And then they went on an appeal, and then the process went on for 6 months, 7 months. And finally, we got it revised to 3.09. And therefore, we got only A. Now, this made many other law universities and law colleges not to take up the NAAC accreditation meaningfully, right? A large number of law colleges are yet to come forward because of this fear that they may not get the proper accreditation. And on the other side, the University Grants Commission giving a mandate that all the institutions, higher education institutions, shall be mandatorily accredited as early as possible, otherwise they will not be entitled for various other benefits which the UGC used to give. Caught between this, I tried to interact with the authorities in NAAC. I have been working with the NAAC for more than 15 years. So I spoke to the director. The director was very kind enough. The present director, Dr. Sharma, was kind enough to organize a small group of people to which Manikela Rao was also a member. And then we tried to build on, and tried to do something and ultimately presented it to the NAAC for having a separate manual for legal education institutions in this country, including the universities and the colleges. Of course, the NAAC as an institution was very keen in doing that, but somehow two times or three times it went before the executive committee of NAAC, and the executive committee of the NAAC did not approve this. As it did not approve for quite some time, we were also losing time. And
Another room, sir. It will be.
ಇಲ್ಲ ಪರವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ ನಾನು ಮುಗಿಸ್ಕೊಂಡು ಬಂದಿರ. I'm sorry about it. So what I did was I wrote a detailed letter to the Minister of Higher Education, marked a copy to the Minister for State, Deputy Minister, the Chairman UGC, and a copy sent to the NAAC Director as well. And based on this, the NAAC was directed to get involved in this process. And luckily for us, Professor Jagdish Kumar became the chairperson of the executive committee of NAAC, and now he is the chairman of the UGC. My sincere appreciation and thanks on all your behalf goes to Dr. Jagdish Kumar, chairman of UGC today, Dr. S.C. Sharma, the director of NAAC, Dr. Priya, who was throughout with us in guiding us through each and every parameter and saying what is right, what is wrong, and what is to be accepted, what cannot be accepted. And we also had what you call it as two or three people like Dr. Jagannath Patil to advise her and for his support throughout. We also had the support of Ganesh Hegde and all other members of the NAAC, including the senior advisors present today, particularly Mr. Dr. Ameya Kumar. They all came down to Bhopal. We had a couple of rounds of discussion, and finally we prepared what you call it as an independent manual for legal education institutions, which is divided once again as universities and the colleges. That is our first success, and the entire credit goes to all these people that I referred to, and our sincere appreciation should continue to be there for the work that they have done. The second is about some of the vice chancellors, principals, and deans who joined us in the process of revision, and finally that fructified into something called as an independent manual for the law colleges and the legal education institutions, including universities. In the second place, I would like to thank Professor Manikela Rao for his continued support to this venture and directing me to inaugurate this particular two-day workshop or a conference in making the law colleges or the legal education institutions to take up the issue much more seriously. And I would like to thank the principal, but also Chand Pahade Law College for providing the platform. What is right and what is to come. Really, in collaboration with others, when I wrote this letter to the minister, I mentioned two important points. The first point that I mentioned was that with the format introduced by NAAC in 2017, a leading law which has been leading law school under the national NIRF ranking in 2020, 19, 21, and 22. The NAAC manual has provided nothing in support of the legal education institutions. Now, because of this fact that the law school Bangalore got a very low score CGPA, and therefore this is not at all correct and appropriate for legal education institutions to go forward. And I, in fact, even protested that I will not allow the NLIU Bhopal to go for accreditation under the new scheme unless and otherwise there is a revision, right? And then for this argument, I want all of you to carefully look at this. There are many key indicators in different categories which worked against all legal education institutions, including the National Law School Bangalore and any other university or a law college in the country. The law colleges were better placed in the old one because they had a provision for opting out of certain key indicators, which was given to the universities less to the score to the tune of 30%. But even that 30% was withdrawn, and therefore that is what made the law school suffer in the ranking of or in the assessment and accreditation by the NAAC. I would like to just mention that in category 1, a total of 85 weightage points. In category number 3, a total of 155 weightage points. Category number 4, 14 weightage points. And category number 5, 48 weightage points, totaling around 302 weightage points out of 1000 weightage points do not apply to legal education institutions in this country. They are totally irrelevant for legal education institutions, and therefore, if some institution gets assessed for 1000 points, all the legal education institutions will get assessed only for 698 points. And out of 698, securing 695 to get A double plus is not at all possible. And therefore, I impressed upon the minister to look into this. And I also illustrated the second point little in detail. For example, in the first place, I mentioned that these are all professional legal education institutions. After they clear the degrees, they register themselves as lawyers and practice. But 1.1.3, which has a weightage point of 10, seeks about employability. Now, we are not talking about employability because these people automatically become professionals at the end of the course, and therefore this will not be applicable to us. In the second place, new courses introduced by the legal education institutions, 30 weightage points are given, and I mentioned that the Bar Council of India prescribes through its rules what is to be taught, and therefore there is nothing that we can do about it. These are all mandatory courses like 20 core courses in law, 16 courses in integrated subjects, 4 clinical courses, 6 optional courses, and 8 honors courses. But still, if the universities could have some option, they can do it within the 6 subjects and also in the honors courses. But as far as colleges are concerned, they're all bound by what is prescribed by the respective affiliating university, and the institutions possibly will not have any sort of support in even if they want to introduce new courses, they cannot do it because of the university regulations. I similarly mentioned about choice-based credit system, which has a weightage of 20 points, and nothing can be done by the law colleges and law schools. Of course, we are all talking about choice-based credit system without understanding anything, because it must be across the institution, not within the institution. A student from Manikchand Pahade Law College possibly could come to National Law School and take 1 or 2 courses. As choice-based credit system, go back and continue his degree or go to some other place to complete his degree. In that sense, nowhere in this country choice-based credit system is being employed, but the national education policy seems to bring certain changes, and let us wait and see how it goes. So therefore, law colleges cannot be penalized for not having this choice-based credit system. In the fourth place, whether the departments have the UGC, SAP, DST, FIST, DBT, ICSSR scholarships or fellowships, and they are not applicable. They are all science based, and therefore that also cannot be applied to legal education institutions. Then you have number of other things like grant for research, innovation ecosystem, awards received, number of patents, for example. I don't know what the law schools and the law universities can do. Uh, having nobody in doing it. But certainly we cannot have a patent on our own, right? Unless we also become a institution. The UGC journals, UGC cares list, which is the new phenomenon which has come into force. Earlier they used to say ISN and ISBN based publications, peer reviewed publications. Now everything is focused on what do you call it as a qualitative UGC cares list or Scopus journal, and therefore our universities colleges will be benefited by this. Then comes what you call as bibliometrics, and there are about 15 points for this UGC journals. 15 points.
Sir, you're not audible. Sir, you're not audible. If you can once check your connectivity.
Am I audible now?
Yes, yes, sir. Now you're on.
Okay. So the outward class also not applicable to the universities. I mentioned about this. And then comes what you call it as the NAAC accreditation also gives the UGC a power to classify them and provide what you call it as graded autonomy. And therefore, universities and the colleges cannot even think about it, right? And finally, my argument was that there are what you call as certain manuals prepared for yoga, health sciences, and Sanskrit. An independent manual have been prepared, and with the lesser number of colleges and institutions, and with 1,750 manual. These were the arguments, and ultimately the matter went. The NAC and the NAC supported us in its full form, full vigor, and I mentioned the names of those individuals who were responsible for this. And ultimately, we got what you call it as an independent law manual. We had 3-4 rounds of consultation, and from the law colleges and the law universities, and Dr. Manikya Lara played a meaningful role in making mention about the problems faced by the law colleges in particular, and therefore we have done whatever we could, and finally we have achieved the target by saying that there will be a separate manual for legal education institutions. In fact, two of them. One will be for the law universities and the other one for law colleges, and that is the only difference, right? Now, what is it that we could do? Even if there is a separate manual, the manual has, you know, uh, a part of success, not the whole of success, and therefore we all got involved in what we call it as preparation of standard operating procedure. That the question will remain the same, but the method and manner the visiting team will question will be a little different. And therefore, we have also prepared a separate standard operating procedure which will be given to the peer team when they visit. And therefore, they will not ask more technical issues which are not applicable to us. And what is applicable to us alone will be asked. I'll just give you a few examples. For example, In the first category, there are many key indicators in that. The activities that are peculiar to the legal education institutions are to be asked. For example, the activities like legal aid, moot courts, trial advocacy, mediation, legal literacy, soft skills, and the languages alone should be asked. And that was accepted as part of the standard operating procedure. And therefore, it is much more easier for us to get better score than what we were getting earlier. In 1.2.1, the mandatory professional course, we have what you call it as 6 optionals and 8 honors courses, plus 16 integrated courses, and we also offer certain skill oriented courses which could also be included. And therefore, the next one in the same category, 1.2.1, you can say that you are providing 6 optional courses, 8 honors courses, and integrated courses, and therefore the subjects that you are introducing will have a much higher weightage than what the system never used to allow us. Then I would like to understand and appreciate, and I would also request all the law college principals to carefully listen to this. Add on courses. The add on courses can be a certificate course, a postgraduate diploma course, or a diploma course, depending upon the credits that one has to clear. And if these courses are introduced, you will have a better opportunity of increasing your score in the overall credit system marked by the NAAC. In the next point, which I would like to mention, is a very important one. The principals must keep this in mind. They must constantly be in interaction or in touch with the student body, because there are feedbacks received from the students, and those feedbacks are taken into consideration. There are 4 types of feedbacks, which if you have not done it, you have to do it. You have to collect the feedback from the students. You have to collect the feedback from the teachers. You have to collect the feedback from the employers. If somebody is coming and recruiting you, or some of your students have been employed somewhere, get some feedback from them. And also, the most important, your alumni. All these 4 feedback will give you some good credit, 4 out of 4. And if you have only 3 of them, it will give 3 out of 4, and it goes in the diminishing value thereafter. So feedback is very, very important, and not simply taking the feedback and keeping quiet. The principals must also collect the information from the feedback and inform the students and the teachers basically as to where the improvement is required, and that will also carry some weightage in 1.1 1.4.2. What is the action that you have taken? So the principals must be very careful in using these feedbacks properly and effectively, and action taken also. A report has to be prepared and kept ready before you go for accreditation. Then in 2.3.3, there are 2 types of tutorials that can be organized by the colleges, and many of the colleges are doing. I'm very confident the MP college is certainly doing it, because I've been in touch with Dr. Manikela Rao, that the teachers can provide some tutorial to weak students after the class hours are over or during holidays. You can also make the senior students. A third year student can guide a first year student, or a second year student can guide a first year student, because they can speak in the local language, try to explain the principles of law in their native language. So this also will have adequate weightage in 2.3.3, right? There is one important aspect which all the principals I would request to keep this in mind: the full-time teachers. Now, full-time teachers need to be understood in a particular manner. They need not be regular teachers, and Many of the private colleges don't call them as regular teachers, but they are all full-time teachers. And what is meant by full-time teacher? Take for example, in a semester, 80% of that 80 days, right? Therefore, if a teacher engages 67 to 68% of the classes, 68 classes out of 80, that teacher can also be regarded as a full-time teacher. And that mistake, which was done by the principals earlier, you have to give like careful consideration to see so that the number of full-time teachers will be much more. Anybody doing more than 90% of the workload will be a full-time teacher according to the NAAC accreditation process. Then in 3.1.5, we have in the standard operating procedure, we have included the alternate dispute resolution process where the students and teachers go out and do something meaningfully. Legal aid, which I think every college is now doing. Please have proper records as to what you have done. Legal literacy, when you go out to the villages which you adopt or go to different colleges and schools in propagating legal literacy, the computer lab, legal databases, etc., are also included in 3.1.5, which is very, very important, which I think you should be a little careful in filling the form properly. And in the place of patent, we said patent will remain as a marker, but we don't have a patent. But if you have an IPR course that is being taught, that may be taken into consideration. Copyright is being taught, that can be taken into consideration. Traditional knowledge is being taken, GI being taught, all these things should be taken into consideration, along with the conferences that you organize for the IPR, and also any consultancy you do for the neighboring institutions should also be taken into consideration for the patent, and therefore we will not get zero, but we will certainly get some marks for that particular aspect. Similarly, for the MOOCs based work that we have done, I don't think we have contributed immensely to the development of MOOCs or the Swayam platform. But instead of that, what we have said is, thanks to the pandemic, that it is possible for us to look at the WebEx, the reading material, the case material that is being sent by WhatsApp message to each and every student, all the platforms that we have used during the COVID situation to interact with the students can also be taken into consideration, and this is according to the standard operating procedure. But in the form you will not get it; you have to mention them. The standard operating procedure will take care of that. And finally, whether you have NCC, NSS, if you have it, it is wonderful. If you don't have the NCC or NSS, I'm little doubtful because every college has the NSS unit. If you don't have either the NCC or the NSS, please use the legal aid work and the pro bono, the work that you do, the interaction that you have done for the National Authority for Legal Services, National NALSA and SALSA, and even the District Legal Services Authority. Take all of them, and in lieu of the NCC and NSS, you will get the due credit accordingly. One important point I would like to mention, which I already mentioned to you, when you have the students' feedback, that is one part of it. The principals must carefully listen to this point because 30 weightage point is assigned to this. Under the new online based system, there is a student satisfaction survey. This student satisfaction survey is very, very crucial. In the sense, you have to give the email IDs of all the students, and randomly they will pick up and send to 10% of the students for them to respond to the questions, which are 20 different objective questions and one descriptive question, and the students have to respond. If the students requisite number of students do not respond, Again, the NAC office will send one more list of emails, and they have to respond till the matter comes to 10% of the response. If the students do not respond to this, you will not be considered for this 30 per 30 weightage points, and that will go out, which means you will be at a loss. Therefore, I would request all the principals to create the email IDs of all the students in one go, give it to the NAC, and constantly tell the students, please, the moment it is uploaded or sent to them by the NAC, they must respond to it. Whatever manner they respond to it, we don't have to tutor them, but they have to respond to it, and then it is possible for them to get this 30 weightage points in favor of what do you call it as the legal educational institution in the accreditation process. Before I get into some other introductory part, I would also make a mention about something very important. This will be explained by Dr. Priya, who is going to take up immediately after me, and she is too good in all these aspects. She'll explain everything. Whatever records you have to digitize them. This is number one. If you don't have proper equipment, you have to hire somebody to do this, because what you have to upload are not the physical records anymore, but the digitized records with a particular URL, and the photographs and the videographs are to be sent with what you call it as geotags. Geotag, for example, if I take the photograph of your college today, you have to have the geotagging, which I think the technical person will know and understand, which will give you the location, exact location from where you are taking the photograph, and that is the authenticity. Otherwise, I can take the photograph of the best law school in the country, right? Maybe NLS Bangalore, put the photograph. No, you can't do that. So geotagging is equally important, and all these things you have to provide an URL, and that URL is very very significant, because you cannot have the Google URL, because Google URL will not be accepted. You have to create your own institutional URL and put it on your website and give that link. It is easier for them to link, and so that the process will be much more smoother, right? This is one point which I thought I will mention to you in detail. And let me quickly rush through what happens in this process, in the NAC accreditation process. As I mentioned to you earlier, the new process has come into force from 2017. Broadly speaking, the new assessment has the following features, which are also provided in the NAC website if somebody is keen in following them. The first feature is that it is totally ICT enabled, objective, transparent, scalable, and robust. That is the first point you have to keep in mind. It has, from the previous qualitative peer judgment, which was based on the qualitative, quantitative, everything, whatever you mentioned, a peer team will go and the peer team will assess and give a grade. And today it is not so. You have to do all these things, put the SSR, and then the digitized version of all the documents will also be submitted, and everything is only online. And therefore, this online assessment will have roughly around 70% of your score. And therefore, I would request all the principals to keep this in mind. It is not based on the visit of the peer team, which will have only 30% of the total score. And 30% of what is that? It is the system where the peer team visits, right, and verifies whatever you are given. And there are what they are called as QLMs, qualitative matrices. And those qualitative matrices, I will quickly rush through. What are those qualitative matrices? That alone will be verified by the peer team, and they will assess you only for the remaining 30%. They will submit the report, they will submit the score sheet, and then once again this is accepted by the NAAC. Without, if there are problems, they will also point it out to us. And then once it is combined with the 70% of the score already that you have obtained, what is called as data validation, verification and validation, DVV process. And that 30% mark or grades given by the peer team will be combined with that 70%, and your grade will be announced accordingly. And therefore, this is very, very important for you to follow this. Now, very quickly, without getting into the detail, I'll leave it to Dr. Priya to look into this aspect. Uh, there are quality indicator framework. It's called as QIF. Now, this description of QIF has to be understood in a particular manner. There are 7 different criteria for this quality indicator framework, right? And these 7 different criteria are further divided into key indicators, right? For example, the first criteria, right, has around 4 key indicators. Similarly, second criteria and all other criteria will have a number of criteria, key indicators, which must be carefully looked into and analyzed. And what are these 7 criteria? I will very briefly mention. These 7 criteria, the first criterion speaks about curricular aspects. The second one speaks about teaching, learning, and evaluation. The third one speaks about research, innovations, and extension activities. The fourth one speaks about infrastructure and learning resources. The fifth one speaks about governance, leadership, and management. And finally, the seventh one speaks about the institutional values and best practices. As I mentioned to you, these 7 categories or criterion are further divided into key indicators, and that makes what you call as the total of the number of key indicators that one has to respond. I will very quickly refer to and give a comparative reference. As law colleges, how many criterion and how many key indicators you will have to face. For all the law colleges, even if you have PG or UG, whatever it is, if you have only UG, there is a slight difference, but not much of a difference. But if you have PG, then you have 1 or 2 additional key indicators. For law colleges generally having undergraduate course, let me put it this way. All the 7 criteria will be applicable to you. There is no exception, right? So that is number 1. All 7 criteria are applicable to the universities, law colleges, affiliated, constituent, autonomous, whosoever it is. All the 7 criteria are applicable. But in terms of key indicators, in terms of key indicators, the law colleges will have only 31 of them as against 34 total indicators. If you have a postgraduate degree, then 32 indicators will be applicable out of 34. In terms of qualitative metrics, the total number of key indicators will be 38, which will be verified by the peer team. Only 37, only one exemption is given. So 37 are applicable to both UG and PG colleges. So which will be verified for 30% of the score by the peer team. Then comes quantitative matrix, which is based on the data, the digital data that you provide, and that has about 82, right, matrix points. And out of 82, the colleges will have only 60, right? That gives you the variation that is required, and the principals can now have a sigh of relief, right? Out of 82, only 60 are applicable to them. And if you have PG course, then you will have 62 out of 82. And this will be done through the DVV, data verification and validation process. And this will be assessed for 70%. So out of total matrices, if you look at it, the universities will have 120, the colleges will have 97, and the colleges having PG will have only 99. And what is it that it is not applicable? I'll very quickly give you one or two examples. In the curricular aspect, for example, out of which 150 marks are given to universities, 50 marks are available, 50 grade points are available to the curriculum design and development. And now with the new manual, it will not be applicable to law colleges totally. And therefore, the law colleges and the including PG law colleges will have only 100, you know, uh, out of 150, and only 150 will be applicable to the universities like national law schools. Similarly, in the third criterion, the research and innovation and extension, promotion of research facilities will not be applicable to the law colleges. Similarly, innovation ecosystem will not be applicable to law colleges. And finally, the consultancy which you are supposed to do will also be not applicable to law colleges. And therefore, you can see that if you have a postgraduate degree, then the innovation ecosystem will be applicable to the tune of 10 points, and you did not bother much about it because they also do some research. You can take those things for granted. So like this, there are totally the total score of 100, out of which, I'm sorry, 1000, out of which every institution will be assessed as you proceed, right? Now, based on this assessment, right, what will happen finally and how they are being graded, I will just briefly make a mention about this. Now, based on the criterion that I mentioned, 7 criterion and the key indicators, the 70 points that you get, 70% of the score through DVV process, 30% of the score through the good morning, Dr. Priya. Nice to see you. And I've been talking about it. So I'm just giving a peripheral aspect of that. I think you will take them, guide them in detail as you proceed. At the fag end, I'm going to request them to apply immediately, right, to the accreditation process. That is the purpose of this particular program. So finally, out of this 100, the grade point average is calculated, and there are 4 different grades that are given: A, B, C, and D. And there also have certain variations. I'll mention that as I proceed. If if an institution, college or the university gets less than 1.5 out of 4, then the institution will not be accredited. That you have to keep it very clear. Less than 1.5, you will not be accredited. If you get from 1.51 to 2, you will be given a letter grade called as C, and the institution will be accredited. If you get to 2.01 to 2.50, the letter grade will be B, and from 2.51 to 2.75, the letter grade will be B plus. From 2.76 to 3.00, it will be called as B plus plus, and 3.01 to 3.25, you will be getting a letter grade of A, and 3.26 to 3.50, it is A plus, and finally 3.51 to 4, you will be given a letter grade of A plus plus, and that gives you that there is only one letter grade D that is less than 1.50, and therefore you have to see to it that your work gets nothing less than 1.50, and if you are accredited, then I think it starts from C to A double plus, and that is in your hands and the work that you do. Now, I will not get into the details as I mentioned to you of as to what is to be done. I have made a mention about the standard operating procedure, and Dr. Priya will carefully guide you through each and every parameter. And there are around 30 or 32, qualitative indices which will be verified by the peer team. And as I have to attend another program at 11 o'clock, I made a mention to Dr. Manikela Rao, my thanks to him for accommodating my request. I have to deliver a convocation address immediately at 11 o'clock. A minister is also coming, and therefore I will be saying my sincere thanks once again to Manikchand Pahade Law College, the authorities, the principal, the students, and all others who are there online today to listen to this address. And with these few words, I am very happy to inaugurate this program, 2-day program, and we want to repeat it as many times as possible with the intention that all the law colleges get accredited as early as possible through this. This is a wonderful boon given to us by the NAC, and let us capitalize on this and do something concrete and give them more and more work, and let all the law colleges get accredited as early as possible, possibly before the end of this year, right before the new education policy, the act comes into picture, and certain other changes will also come through. So therefore, my request to all the principals, please do whatever you have to do, get it accredited, apply it at the earliest, and whatever doubts you have, I think Manikala Rao will be in a better position to clarify those doubts. Or we can also have some sort of, after a gap of say about 2 months, when you are prepared very well, possibly we can have a sort of interaction where your doubts could be clarified. And I'll also request Dr. Priya to be present there, so that with all the doubts clarified, let us apply and get the benefit of accreditation at the earliest. I once again thank everyone for their patient, listening to my presentation. And I think the details will be worked out by Dr. Priya. Thank you very much, Dr. Priya, for coming a little early.
Thank you so much, sir. Uh, Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights and sharing. With your kind permission, I would like to proceed.
Please.
And now I request Principal C.M. Rao, sir, to give the presidential address.
Respected chief guest and dear participants and NAC member advisor Priya Narayanan madam, it gives me immense pleasure to have the man behind what we are having today, Professor Vijay Kumar. Without his untiring efforts, we cannot benefit it because of this NAC changes that are brought. Not only Vijay Kumar sir, but also Priya madam, continuously making efforts to make us to understand each criteria and make us to understand and give our inputs to her to make the changes that are required for the law colleges and law universities. And at the same time, I completed my first NAC in 2003. So the college got C grade, the second NAC A grade, the third NAC B plus. So this is my experience. So when I make a particular NAC with the new changes that are made in the particular NAC aspect is concerned, without knowing that we are committing a mistake, that we are committing several mistakes, that's why we lost 25 to 30 points because of our mistakes that we are not properly taking care while we are preparing assessments. So without looking into these particular things, simply we are going to blame the NAC authorities or the peer team. That is not the reason for our low grade or not proper evaluation by the peer team. It is we who are responsible. It is we who are responsible for the lower grade or a higher grade. If you properly pension, if you properly project your institution, definitely you will be benefited. So my experience with this particular NAC, I had gone to this particular Delhi one college where I observed excellent but the preparation of the SSR report is not up to the mark. If they have prepared properly, it may be B plus or B double plus. So who is to be blamed? It is the institution who has not properly taken care, as rightly pointed by Professor Vijay Kumar. We, the people, just like for preparation of the class, what we are going to take into consideration various authorities on the subject. Similarly, when you are preparing the NAAC, you should go through the various institutions which are already done, which are available in the archives. In the NAAC website archives, the NAAC SSR reports are available. By going through that particular archive SSR reports, whichever is known to us, whichever is applicable to us, without asking any questions, first you make your preparation and then you go for the clarification from the expert people who are available to you. It is the thing which you have to take in care. So when I am making a first NAAC, I visited nearby college which completed NAAC. In the second visit, I visited another college which completed the NAAC. In the third also, I visited a college in Goa, Salgaonkar College. In the third cycle, I visited the Goa College. That is the way in which you have to prepare. Simply making yourself, so every person who is making an SSR, by consulting with other faculty members, other stakeholders, can only serve the purpose. Simply one person making the particular NAAC report, if the other persons who are the stakeholders does not know what the particular person who is in charge of the coordinator of the NAAC team or IQAC is doing the thing without the knowledge or without consulting the other persons, it will boomerang you when the NAAC team comes to you. This is my observation, which I observed while I am going to go through the NAAC, all the 3 cycles. And at the same time, all the 5 or 6, 7 people who are involved in the process of rewriting or redrafting this particular thing with the assistance of Dr. Priya Narayan. They are wonderful and they have a lot of experience in this particular area. And with inputs of those people, experienced people, taken care of colleges, and universities, and everything. If a doubt is raised regarding Scopus or the journals that are going to play, immediately Mrs. Priya Narayan called the Delhi people and the particular people for the purpose of clarification online, and they clarified the particular members. So what is to be done by the particular NAAC accreditation while you are going to go for the publication of the books, where you are going to make the students in the editorial board. When you make a student in the editorial board, that is not recognized by the concerned UGC recognized journals. The majority of us do the mistakes because we are human beings. But when you are doing these mistakes, we are not aware of the fact that it will have a bad impact on us, our assessment. So with this particular thing, I would like to thank Professor Vijay Kumar for inaugurating this particular opportunity to make awareness among our legal fraternity, to have a knowledge where to concentrate, where you have to be more careful, where to take care of the things that is going to be cleared by Priya Narayan in depth. So I hope every person who joined will be cleared all your doubts by the time the particular seminar or conference of these 2 days will close tomorrow by 1 o'clock. Thank you one and all for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, sir. Concluding the inaugural session, I here request Shiv Kumar sir to propose vote of thanks.
Very good morning to one and all. As we come to the conclusion of the inaugural session entitled Preparation of Overall 7 Criteria in NAAC Accreditation Process for Legal Education Institutions, it is my pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks. The main purpose of this seminar is how an institution can fare better in NAAC accreditation. We have already seen Professor Vijay Kumar explaining the very criteria that even a simple fact that a student and a teacher feedback is also taken into the consideration when it comes to NAAC accreditation. So all these things are really crucial when you look for improving the NAAC score. Apart from that, At first, I would like to thank the NAAC office for their financial support in organizing the seminar. I sincerely thank Professor Vijay Kumar, the Honorable Vice Chancellor of NLIU Bhopal, who delivered the keynote address. I would like to place my appreciation on record for our respected principal, sir, Dr. C.M. Rao, for the presidential address. I am also grateful to Vice Principal Dr. Sri Krishna More, sir, for the welcome address. I would like to thank Dr. Aparna Kotapelle ma'am, the IQAC coordinator, for providing us with the introduction of the event. I would be failing in my duties if I don't thank the management, that is the MLGE Society, for their constant support. I also thank the respected faculty and non-teaching staff for the smooth conduct of the inaugural session. And finally, I thank our student anchor, Ms. Netal Agarwal, for her wonderful anchoring of the session. To conclude the vote of thanks, let me thank each and everyone for being a part of the inaugural session, and let's do a bit in making the upcoming technical sessions a very fruitful one. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Monica Lara, with your permission, may I leave?
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Priya.
Netal, go
Thank you,
ahead.
sir. Thank you, sir.
Netal. Netal, are you there? Aparna, who is there for next session?
Yes, sir, they are there. Just wait for a minute. Maybe there is some technical issue. Please wait. Thank you everyone for joining the inaugural session. Marching ahead towards first session on topic comparative discourse on the changes introduced through new manual for law colleges, I invite Priya Narayana ma'am to continue with the event, and I hand over the charge of the first session to co-anchor Shivani Gavani. Thank you so much. Over to you, Shivani.
Thank you, Nedil. A very warm good morning to one and all present here on behalf of Marathwada Legal and General Education Societies, Manikchand Pahade Law College, Aurangabad. I, Shivani Ravindra Gavhane, student of BA LLB 5th year, welcome you all for the national level online seminar on a theme New Processes of the NAAC Accreditation and Assessment of the Legal Education Institutions in India, which is sponsored by National Assessment and the Accreditation Council. Once, the Nelson Mandela said that the education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And today, we all are honored to have Dr. Priya Narayanan Madam, Assistant Advisor and the NAAC member, NAAC Bangalore, Karnataka, first session resource person, who will be enlightening us on the topic of comparative discourse on the changes introduced through the new manual for the law colleges. Now, I take the opportunity to introduce our respected speaker, Dr. Priya Narayanan Ma'am. Ma'am believes that need is the mother of the invention, and there is a great need to generate interest in the geographic and the geospatial studies. Thus, she had developed her own innovative ways of teaching. She always wondered about the presence of geography everywhere in all walks of the human life that makes it essential to elevate and promote the subject in all levels of education. Ma'am had done her BSc in Geography from Nirmala College for Women, Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu. She also completed her MSc in the Spatial Information Technology from the Department of the Geography, Madras University, Chennai in 2002. In 2008, she submitted the thesis on the subject of land transformation due to the urban sprawl, a geographer's approach using GIS and remote sensing techniques to Department of the Geography, Bangalore University, Karnataka. Ma'am has worked as a guest faculty in the Department of the Geography and handled classes of MSc Geography and initiated geoinformatics in the department. She also worked as a full-time contractual faculty from the September 2005 to March 2011. Since March 2011, she was working as the assistant professor in Department of the Geography, Central University of the Karnataka. Ma'am has been awarded with the various distinctions as university rank holder. She won the Professor N.P. Iyer Young Geographer Award for the year 2005 given by the National Association of Geographers India from New Delhi. Ma'am also won the Chanakya Kautilya State Excellence Award 2006 for Outstanding Excellence in Education. Dr. Priya Narayanan Ma'am was also awarded for the Young Scientist Award for the year 2006 and 7 by the National Environmental Science Academy, New Delhi. Ma'am also awarded with various international awards and the fellowships. Ma'am participated and presented the various articles related to the environment and the society. Ma'am has worked on various projects as Project Coordinating Authority. She completed UGC sponsored minor research project on assessing the growth of the Gulbarga city using geoinformatics. Now, ma'am is working on the basic science research project by UGC on modeling the future growth of the Gulbarga city pathfinding sustainable development. Ma'am had done with the various project works such as mitigating the urban heat islands using the social forestry, assessing and modeling the infrastructure crunch of Gulbarga city. Currently, Ma'am is working as assistant advisor and a NAAC member, NAAC Bangalore, Karnataka. It's a great pleasure to have you here, ma'am. There are some instructions for the respected participants. Please keep your mic mute and the cameras off for avoiding the disturbance between the session. If anyone has any doubts regarding the session, you can put them into the chat box. At last, they will be taken into the consideration. Now, without any further ado, I would like to request Dr. Priya Narayanan ma'am kindly address the respected participants. Over to you, ma'am.
Very good morning to one and all. I hope my slides are visible to you.
Madam.
Okay. So I do understand that in the keynote address that Professor Vijay Kumar gave you, he must have given you a bit of insight about what is accreditation and what is expected out of an accreditation. Now here I am to explain you the complete process of assessment and accreditation, which is followed for all universities or colleges for that matter. And in specific, I have also been requested to cover the differences that exist between a normal accreditation of colleges and in particular to what is the changes that have been made for law colleges. So I would request all of you to please make a note of whatever I'm presenting. And in case should you be having any kind of concerns, any kind of doubts, you may please note it so that we will have a separate session soon after my presentation that we can discuss on your concerns. So starting with assessment and accreditation, you know, NAAC is the only body in India which does institutional accreditation, which means an institution as a whole, not as a program, but all the programs that an institution offers, to all the activities that happen in an institution, we try to assess the quality of an institution and give them a report of that quality. Now, this is as good as when you go to a clinic for your blood check. So whatever you had, you had been eating, or your lifestyle have been for the past, say, some days, say some months, or for that matter, for some years, that will be reflecting in the report that it comes as a blood report or a urine report or or a scan report, like that. NAAC's time period is for 5 years. So for the past 5 years, whatever you have been doing, based on that, we assess and we give you a report. Now, as good as that, the blood report, whatever you get it at hand, seldom is not explanatory. Now, what you need to do is that keeping that, then you need to plan ahead of where your shortfalls are, where you can improve, or with a standard measurement, we try to give you where do you stand so that you can have a focused development for your side. So that being the case, NAAC's quality framework has 7 criteria. The first criteria talks about the curriculum aspects. Now, curriculum, with that, we mean to say not only the syllabus, but the activities that you do, how to frame a syllabus, what you do apart from a syllabus, and how do you transact this syllabus in terms of various methods of teaching that you use. Now, the second process is about teaching and learning. So how do you teach, how the students learn? So now, how do you assess this learning capacity of this students, and how do you evaluate them? The third component or the third criteria talks about research, innovation, and extension programs that you have been doing. The fourth is about infrastructure and learning resources. Fifth criteria is about student support and progression. The sixth criteria is on the governance, leadership, and management. And the seventh criteria is about institutional values and best practices. Now, all of these criteria, 7 criteria, we have distributed the weight to each of these criteria, as you could see here in this column. And the cumulative of all this weightage is about 1,000 weightage. Minimum is 1,000 weightage, and maximum is 4,000 weightage. In that way, every criteria is subdivided into key indicators. Now, key indicators are subsection of criteria. Now, each key indicator within itself will have some amount of qualitative and quantitative metrics. Now, in terms of qualitative metrics, the metrics are open-ended, where when something is asked, it cannot be termed in terms of number, wherein a description is required by the institution. Now, this description also has got some word limit. So within 100 words, within 500 words, you need to explain that particular metric, what it is being sought. Now, the quantitative metric, the very word quantitative means that it attempts to measure the quality through quantitative terms. That is, how many, how much, how many days, or how many programs, what is the percentage of your students going for internship. Now, when you talk about these in a clear, measurable terms, now these are quantitative metrics. So with qualitative and quantitative metric, the combination of qualitative and quantitative metric, the entire framework is being built. Now here, if you see, the total number of metric for a PG college is 99. Now, what is a PG college? Any college which gives at least one PG program, then it becomes you have to follow PG manual. What is a UG college? If a college does not give you PG program at all, now all the programs that you have is only undergraduate program, then it becomes a UG college. So in terms of UG college, it is 97 metrics, and in terms of PG college, it is 99 metrics. Now, the number of QNM, quantitative metrics, for a UG college is 60 metrics, and for a PG college is 62 metrics. And in terms of qualitative, it is the same for them. That is 31 metric, 37 metrics, and 37 metrics here. Those 2 metrics is that the difference that it brings is in the criteria 3, where we give more importance to research, innovation, and extension, where two metrics have added up for research, because being a PG, that is post-graduation, your next step is towards being more research oriented, being more, to that extent, talking more about policies and frameworks and all those things. So how far you have been exposing your students to all these things, so that metrics add up to two metrics there. So the overall, if we see the difference in this manual is that in a general manual, we have 93 and 96 metrics, 93 for UG and 96 for PG. In a legal education manual, we have 97 metrics to accommodate the legal parameters also. So we have 97 and 99 metrics. The total weightage is the same. So here also it is 1000 and here also it is 1000. Number of QLM here just increases by 2. There is 2 extra questions that we have added to you to the law manual, wherein the normal manual is 58 and 60. In the legal education manual, it is 60 and 62. The percentage is almost the same. Percentage of QNM is 60-40. So we have divided almost like that. 66 percentage and 34 percentage. So almost 66 percentage are quantitative metrics and 34 percentage are qualitative metrics. Now coming. Here, in terms of boosting the benchmarking and quality improvement, a tool is prepared through an international quality assurance framework. Now, RAF is the quality indicator framework, QIF, which has a complete ICT-based framework wherein your setup of how you have to answer, where you have to answer is clearly defined. So what is expected of a good institution is benchmarked from 0 to 4. The class interval is already performed. So what will happen is that once you start giving in your input, the system automatically calculates and benchmarks you, and the calculation goes ahead. Now, we also have a third-party evaluation called as DVV, Data Validation and Verification. Now, this happens purely for your quantitative metrics. That 66% of the metrics that you answer will go through a process called data validation and verification. Here we have already an SOP, which I will explain you in the coming slides. According to that, the documents, whatever you are giving, that document will be verified across the number that you have stated in your SSR, and will be verified whether that much number you have actually gathered or not. Now, based on that, your calculation of benchmarks also will automatically happen. Now, here we have something called as a pre-qualifier, which means out of the 66%, at least you have to score 25% in the quantitative metric, which means the pass mark for the quantitative metric. Now, if you do not get 25%, you will not be considered as pre-qualified. Now, why do we do this? Is because we don't want the low performing institution to come into accreditation and be accredited as D not accredited. So if any very low performing institutions are there, we tell them prior itself that your performance is not good, so you're not pre-qualified. So go back, take another 1 year, prepare yourself, and come back as for assessment and accreditation as a fresh process. Now, apart from this, one more dimension of RAF, that is this revised accreditation framework, is student satisfaction survey. Now, we know very well students are the most important stakeholders of higher education. So in order to understand the quality of the institution, a bigger say lies with the student. So the student satisfaction survey is given the biggest weightage in the assessment process, wherein selected students, random selected students, are invited for an online survey, and their survey, whatever the marks that they give, aggregate value is taken as in the prima facie directly to the calculation of CGPA. So the eligibility of any institution for accreditation is that If it had been a private or deemed university, you need to come along with the university. Or if you are a college, a private college or an affiliated college or a standalone institution also can come for assessment and accreditation. Now, there are two terms here, assessment and reassessment. You need to understand this two terminology. Now, assessment is that when any institution comes fresh for the first time to NAAC, or in the second cycle after completing 5 years, the second cycle, third cycle, fourth cycle. Now, these is called as assessment. Now, reassessment means for any reason, if an institution is not satisfied with its score, and in the same cycle, if they want to come again, like a re-examination, you wanted to come again and give your accreditation again, then that becomes reassessment. So many people confuse this terminology of reassessment with second cycle. So second cycle is reassessment. No, second cycle is also assessment only. In the same cycle, again, if you want to accredit after 1 year and before 3 years, if you want to come again, so that becomes reassessment. The institution, so now, what is the most important aspect a legal education institution should look into is your eligibility. Are you eligible to follow legal education institution manual or not? Now, what decides that? Now, here there is a condition. You have to be a mono faculty legal education college, or if you are a multi-faculty college, then your 60% and more programs should be legal studies program or related discipline. So if you are a institution, a mono faculty institution offering only legal education program, then you will choose this legal education manual. Or if you are a multi-faculty institution, but more than 60% of your program is about legal education or its allied subjects, then you will have to follow this particular legal education manual. Now here, any institution who wants to follow the legal education manual, what is should and must is that your program should be duly recognized by Bar Council of India or any other statutory bodies which is applicable for that program. So only then your application for assessment itself will be accepted. Now, where you have to mention this? In the 11th criteria in college affiliation, we ask a question called as, are you a specific type of institution? Now there will be a yes button. You have to click yes, and then there will be a drop down menu that comes. So there you will say affiliated, and when you say you are a specific type of institution, there in the drop down menu you will find legal UG, legal PG, and all that college. So you will be selecting your law college in that particular, of 11th serial number in the IIQA. Now, after your assessment is over, your grades, as Vijay Kumar sir was telling, these are the split of your grades, your CGPA. Out of 4,000, that is the maximum score. How much you are able to score depends on your performance, and we will classify you in these letter grades of D, C, B, B plus, B double plus, A plus, and A double plus. Now, when it falls as less than 1.50 or 1.50 and less than that, then it becomes not accredited, which means that your institution is certified as not accredited, and you will have to come back again, improving your performance in order to get any grades above these. Now, we have to understand that there is a preliminary process called Institutional Information for Quality Assessment, IIQA. That is the first process of assessment accreditation. But before that also, I just wanted to understand that if any of your institution who's participating today have not participated in accreditation process at all ever, then you have to register yourself in the NAAC portal. Now, if you go to NAAC portal, there is a button called Apply Online. So in that Apply Online, if you click, if you go down there, there is this thing called as fresh registration or registration. wherein you will register your institutional detail. You will get a login and password. Now, this is very, very important because about this, we have videos hosted in the NAAC website, how to register. So once you register, you have the login ID and password for your institution to access to NAAC's portal. Now, this portal is going to be the via media communication for us. For throughout the assessment process, we will be informing the institution, their status, their progress, and all other aspects, including payment of fee, has to be done only through this portal. So anyone who has not registered, you may please start your registration process today itself, because it's a very auspicious day, Varamahalakshmi. But apart from that also, registration process does not mean that you have to apply for assessment and accreditation immediately. The registration process is for you to understand how the portal is. You can register, have the process, but you can start filling your IAQA when you are ready. So there is no kind of hassles attached with registration. It is just for you to access the portal so you can have it done even now. So once you are ready for assessment and accreditation, the first process is that you will fill in an IIQA, that is institutional information for quality assessment. Now, what does this IIQA has? IIQA has very preliminary information like that of name of your institution, your affiliation letter, what are the programs that you have been offering, what is the staff strength, what is the student strength. Now, all this program, all these details we will be asking you in the IIQA. So once IAQA is accepted, 45 days time will be given for you to submit your SSR. Now, SSR is also not like earlier days that you will print the SSR and send to NAAC. There is no printing. There is no physical communication required between NAAC and the institution. Everything is online. So you will fill your SSR also online itself. Now your portal will look something like this. Your name of the institution will appear here, and you will have the IIQA tab, your SSR tab, your DVV tab, your assessment tab, your appeal tab, AQAR tab, all these things. Now first, in the assessment process, you start with IIQA. So you must have filled in IIQA. Your IIQA must have been approved. So your IIQA tab turns green. Now it will give you access to SSR tab. Now, when you open the SSR for every criteria, for the 7 criteria, what are all the metrics that we have asked you? Those metrics you will start filling in, and then you will submit the SSR tab. When you submit it, then your Manage DVV tab gets enabled. That means the process of data validation and verification starts there. So any queries asked by DVV, you have to go to Manage DVV and you have to answer that. Then after you pre-qualify in the DVV process, which I said 25% at least you have to get in DVV in your quantitative metric, then you will have Manage Assessment tab enabled. In the Manage Assessment tab, you can go and you can pay the second level SSR fee, and then you can also propose a date for a peer team visit. You will give the hotel details, nearby hotel which is good that you suggest, and nearby airport of your institution. When you give all these things, the NAAC will also conduct a peer team visit. Now, after declaration of your results, in case if you are not satisfied with the results, then you will be exercising the Manage Appeal tab, wherein that you will be able to appeal to NAAC about any discontentment that you have in your assessment accreditation process. Now, after finishing this, your Manage AQAR tab will open. AQAR means Annual Quality Assurance Report. So every year, what is your performance? That you will be submitting after your first accreditation. Every year you have to submit a report to NAAC that what is your progress that for that particular year. So these reports, after your results are announced, your reports here you will be giving getting your reports of your qualitative and quantitative scores and your peer team report, your NAAC grade and NAAC certificate, everything will be available in the report. So this is kind of a cascading tab. So if you do not submit IAQA, your process does not start. If you do not complete your SSR, your DVV cannot start. If your DVV is not completed, your assessment, Manage Assessment or peer team visit cannot start. Your peer team is not complete. Only then, after completion of these, only then management appeal will open. Only after your accreditation is over, your AQAR will be able to submit. So what does your SSR contain? Your SSR will contain an executive summary of the institution. So what you wanted to tell about your entire institution as a whole, and then your vision statement, your mission statement, and the strength, weakness, opportunity, and challenge of your institution as identified by the institution. Then you will also have criteria-wise summary. That means for every criteria, as I've explained you the earlier slides, that we have 7 criteria. For each criteria, how the institution is trying to perceive their quality-related endeavorances for those criteria has to be very crisply and precisely been explained in the criteria-wise summary. Then some of the basic information gets auto-populated from the IAQA, because by this time, you remember your IAQA must have been approved, and from there the information is carried to the SSR, but wherever the information is not filled, you are supposed to fill those informations. Then academic informations like that of the programs that you have been offering for the last 5 years, your staff strength, your student strength, and other details also has to be provided in the academic information, position of staff details. Then qualification details of teaching staff, like how many of them have PhD, how many of them do not have PhD. So all those other details you need to fill in here. Now, details of student enrollment for the 5 years, how many students you had, unit cost of education, including the fee component and excluding the fee component. So that will also be there here. And the QIF. Now all these above QIF, whatever I have explained, are just information that you are providing to NAAC. But QIF is the question paper for you for the assessment and accreditation. This is called as quality indicator framework. So this is the indicating framework for the institutional quality. Now, what does QIF actually comprise of? This QIF comprises of qualitative metrics, quantitative metrics, and student satisfaction survey. Now, quantitative metrics, as I told you earlier, the parameters of quality which can be measured through quantitative terms or derivatives, those are called as quantitative metrics. About 66% of the questions that have been asked in the QIF are quantitative in nature. So what kind of quantitative metric we have? We have where we talk about, say, number of add-on or value-added or certificate programs. How many? So when you have to say for the last 5 years, how many programs you have, you will enter a number there. And that number will be verified with a standard number that NAAC is looking forward for. Like, for example, if you have less than 4 or 4 to 6 programs or 6 to 8 programs or 8 to 10 programs or more than 10 programs if you have. So if you have more or less than 4, this is only for an example I'm giving you. Less than 4 programs, maybe you will be awarded with 0. Or 4 to 6 programs if you have, you will be awarded with 1 mark. Now 6 to 8 programs you have, you will be awarded with 2 marks. Now 8 to 10 programs, 3 marks. More than 10 programs you have, you will be having 4 marks. Now you can say that where I can get these details. No, these details are not made public. This is a coded version which we have, not only you, even I don't know. So this will be formed by a secret team analyzing what would be an ideal number of these programs that will be kept for the institutions. So like this, for every quantitative metric, such kind of design is made and it will be compared. So once you give the number, it will look up for the benchmark and that much number will be awarded to you. So probably suppose in this case, if you're getting 7 programs, so you'll be awarded with 3 benchmark. Now this again, I'm telling you, only a rough or an utopian calculation that I'm making to you. So suppose if you give 7 here, now as per the design that I spoke now, so you will be awarded with 3 benchmarks. So 3 into every metric will have a weightage. Here the weightage is 10. So 3 into 10, 30 marks you will be getting, 30 points you will be getting for this metric, which is 1.2.2. So this is direct derivatives where your number, what you're putting here, directly goes to the benchmark and multiplies with the weightage. Now, some of them are formula based. Like, for example, we say average enrollment percentage. To the sanction number, how many students have been enrolled? Now, when you're asking this, we have to calculate. Now, how is the calculation done? Number of students admitted divided by number of students sanctioned into 100. Now, that aggregate value of each year divided by 5, you get another number. Now, that number will be marked across a benchmark, and that benchmark, whatever you're getting, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, any one number out of these 4 will be multiplied with the weightage, and then you will be getting the score for this particular metric as 2.1.1. So, as quantitative metric, it is about numbers. The numbers are sometimes direct or sometimes derived through a formula which is applied, or it could also be something like this. Like we give you an option, and that option, from that option, you will be choosing anyone. Like, look at this question. Now, institution obtains feedback on syllabus and its transactions at the institution from the following stakeholders. That is, the institution obtains feedback from the students, from the teachers, from law firms, judges, councils, and employees, from the alumni. So when you say that any one of the above, so you will say D. None of the above, you may say E. All of the above, you may say A. So how do you obtain the feedback? Now here you see all of the above, which means any one of the above, any two of the above, any three of the above, or none of the above. If you say none of the above, 0. Any one of the above, 1. Any two of the above, you say 2. Any three of the above, you may get 3. All of the above, you may get 4. So just like this, the benchmark can be divided. Now, you have to understand that your assessment is just not for what you perform today. It is for what you perform for the last 5 years. Now, for that matter, many of the metrics that we seek the data for the last 5 completed academic years. Now, how this academic year is determined? Academic year is determined every 31st of May. Like, for example, if you would be submitting your SSR in 30th May 2022, then your last completing academic year would have been 1920, as in this case. But now, because you have crossed that 31st, now 2021 is also added in the metric, and now 21-22 is also added in the metric because 22 May is already complete. So from 21-22 onwards, when you go behind, you will have 5 years as 21-22, 20-21, 19-20, 18-19, and 17-18. So these 5 years data will be obtained as on date when you will be applying for assessment and accreditation. Now, next year, suppose if you are going to submit your IIQA after, say, May 22 or May 23, then 22-23 also will get added, and you will lose your year of 17-18. So your accreditation period will be 18-19, 19-20, 20-21, 21-22, and 22-23. So this is how the academic years starts reflecting in your SSR. This is automatic. We cannot change it. Even upon your request, it will not be possible. So a good plan is very, very essential for you, that in what date you're going to submit your IAQA. You need to plan ahead and then prepare yourself from the day or from the day one so that you meet your time schedule properly. Many institutions try to keep a very short this thing that, in May 23, I will submit my SSR before the onset of June so that I will have 21-22 with me. But due to some reason, they will not be able to meet it. Once the day gets passed, 1st of June 2023 comes, they will have another 1 year added to that. Then they have to again completely work on the details that they have provided. So it's very important for you to plan up very properly. So sometimes in the quantitative metrics, we ask year-wise data. Now, wherein that for every year, we ask you to, like say, enter the data. Number of students admitted year-wise. For every year, how many students were admitted? You need to enter. But sometimes we say that this exercise for some of the metrics does not suit. Like for example, number of add-on and value-added programs. We don't want you every year how many add-on programs, because we cannot keep on changing those add-on programs. Some of them are value-added programs which you require the students to read it every year, or even for that matter all years. So that way we say consolidated for the last 5 years, how many programs without repeat count you have to tell us how many programs you have introduced or you have been practicing. Now, there is another section called as extended profile. Now, extended profile, as I told you, there are metrics where calculations are required. Now, these calculations have an arithmetic calculation of a denominator component and a numerator component. Numerator component is given by the institution. Denominator component are used for several metrics. Like for example, number of courses offered by the institution during last 5 years, or students year-wise during last 5 years, faculty year-wise during last 5 years, number of classrooms that you have. So all the number of computers or laptops you have, these questions, we use it in different places to calculate more than one metric. And that is why we have pushed it as extended profile, wherein you will be giving the numbers here. The qualitative metrics. Now, when quantitative metrics are the approach towards explaining your quality through numbers, not all parameters of quality can be quantified. So some of them are descriptive in nature. In that case, like say the institution adheres to academic calendar, including the conduct of continuous internal evaluation, CIE. When we talk about this here, how the institution plans its academic calendar, how the institution makes sure that it stays on par with the academic calendar, and how within this calendar itself, continuous internal assessment is also planned. When we are asking this cannot be, rather it becomes too crude to convert this into a quantitative metric. So here we give ample opportunity for the institution to explain how you plan your internal calendar or your academic calendar, and how you incorporate continuous internal evaluation in that. Within 1,000 characters you will be, or 500 words, you will be explaining it here. So you need to be precise, and any additional document for every metric you need, you have to provide it here. So all the data validation of all the QNM, that is the earlier metrics that we were talking about, all these metrics, the QNM component will be validated by our DVV team, that is the data validation and verification team. But the data validation and verification will not be looking at the component of QLM, that is the qualitative metric, the descriptions that you have read. So these descriptions will be given to our peer team members who will be visiting your institution. These peer team members will read your explanation that you have given in the qualitative metric, and they will see, feel, and they will experience whatever you have written. They also interact with your students, they interact with the alumni, they interact with faculty, they also interact with the stakeholders of the institution, maybe your management also. And then they will try to mark from their experience for what you have said, what they have experienced. They will try to mark you from 0 to 4 in the qualitative metric. So in quantitative metric, after the data validation and verification process, it is the benchmarking with which you get the notification. And after in the qualitative metric, it is the peer team who will be seeing and experiencing whatever you write with whatever the reality is, and they will be marking you from 0 to 4. So put all together. Also, there is a student satisfaction survey. Never to forget that your students have got the greatest right to assess the quality of the institution, and their component also will get merged up into. So how is this here? Whatever score you are getting as a percentage or as number will be marked across a range, and that will be multiplied with the weight to get a final score here. Like your response for a particular metric, as I told you, say if it is 8 value added courses, now 8 falls into say 3. So, so 3 into 20, you will get 60 as the final score for that metric. Now, aggregate of all the final scores in the qualitative and quantitative metrics divided by 4,000, because 4,000 is the maximum benchmark that you can get. You get your CGPA. Now, let's talk about quantitative metrics. Now, quantitative metrics, they are just not numbers. They are numbers accompanied by details and supporting documents. So your metric input, suppose if you say 8 value added courses that you have been giving. So now there is a template for that particular metric, which is explanation of that 8. What is the program name? How many times you have offered it in the last 5 years? Suppose in the glossary, we have very clearly given what is value-added program. Now, in the glossary, it explains value-added programs are those programs which is non-credited, which means it is not apart from the curriculum. So it is not part of your program. It is not a structure of your curriculum. It is beyond the curriculum, which you give for the students so that your curriculum does not cover that, but your industry needs it. So you are providing such kind of programs so that employment opportunities or the opportunities for a betterment for the students increases. So that is why you provide this, and it has to be minimum 30 hours classes. So a program which is minimum 30 hours. Now, which is minimum 30 hours means anything which is below 30 hours you are giving, you cannot include it here. But the 30 hours program, in a semester, you can give it 2 times if the demand is very high. So they're asking these details in an Excel template, which is called as a data template. Every quantitative metric has got a data template. Now, in the NAAC website where we have hosted the manual, we have also hosted the NAAC template, data template. So when you're reading a metric, when you're deciding a number, you should also be capable and enabled to give those details of 8 programs, means 8 rows of information you should be able to give it in the data template. Now, does it stop here? You just give the details in the data template. Is that all? No, beyond that, you should also be providing the supporting documents. Now, what kind of supporting document? If you go there to the NAAC website, below the data template only, we have also hosted what is called as SOP, Standard Operating Procedure. Now, the Standard Operating Procedure states for every quantitative metric, what is the supporting document which is expected by NAAC. Now, in the supporting document, we, for example, for this value-added program, so we say the course details, so and the curriculum, and then course completed list, how many students have completed that list. And then we also ask for some sample certificates that you provide after completion of the course. Now, a quantitative metric is just not number. This number and the explanation that you provide in the template and the document that you give as per SOP have to perfectly match with each other. Only then that number you said 8 will be accepted. Suppose you give 8 and in the template you only explain 5 programs. Then the 8 will be corrected as 5 by DVV. So, for example, here average percentage of course that includes experiential learning through moot courts, seminar courses, court visits, arbitration, mediation, client counseling. So, what is the document that we require here as per SOP? See, here we said name of the student, what is the program he involved in, what activity did he take. So if he would have taken, say, a law firm visit also, and he must have taken a field project work also. So you can give different this thing. But that student, if he takes different programs, again the student name should not be repeated. Same student, how many of these he has taken. So these things, and only courses having this thing on field work, internship, etc. from the affiliating university curriculum will be taken into account. So what DVV will do, the data validation and verification process. As such, you may see that, what is validation, what is verification, what is the difference between these two. Now, verification means that whether your the details that you say exist in the template or not. That is verification. Validation means that what you have said in the template as well as in the SSR, whether it is true or not. Not to to validate that. Verification process that, like for example, if you say 8 value-added programs and you have given the details of 8 programs. So we say whether these 8 programs, the details are given or not is the verification process, like how a TT checks whether your name is there in the report or in the TTR chart or not. It's a verification process. Then he validates the person on whom the ticket is booked, whether it is the same person who sits here occupying the seat. That is validation. So validation is according to the SOP norms of the Indian Railways, like say passport or government ID cards, Aadhaar card or PAN card or any kind of cards that has been issued. So just like that, as per SOP of NAAC for that particular metric, whatever the details that we have asked, those details have to be provided by the institution, and that becomes validation process. So in this triangular function of number versus details versus the supporting documents that you will be providing, the triangle will not be complete if any one of these are not there. That means if your number is high and your details are low, or if your number and details are right but your supporting documents are not there, then it will lead to correction of data by the data validation and verification partner. So why do we have to do all this exercise? Does it actually add significance to the process that we are doing? Very much, because number at its face value cannot be accepted. As per the performance of higher education institution, the future course corrections or the policies that have to be drafted for higher education depends on its performance that is happening today. So it is this data that will be defining strategies for improvement. It is this data that will give us a path for planning the future. It is this data that will give us to monitor whether the present plans are working properly. And it is this data that will give us an evaluation of performance of the institution. So it cannot be taken on its face value of any number that the institution gives. Hence, a third party is required in order to validate the information, in order to verify the information and make the data cleansed and prevent the data in the appropriate format. So now, after you submit the SSR, now we stopped the slide where the IIQA is accepted and 45 days was provided to you. Now within the 45 days, if you're submitting your SSR, then you get this particular message that DVV will take about 15 days time after your submission of SSR. They will go through all the documents for each metric, only quantitative metric. They see it and they compare it, and they wherever there are this triangle is not complete, they raise clarification. Now, what if they don't raise clarification for some of the metrics? That means that metric triangle is completed. So there is no doubts. Wherever they have doubts, wherever they have apprehensions, wherever this triangle is not complete, there they raise the clarification for the institution. Now, clarification falls like asteroids from the sky to you, because at one single point of time, the DVV will be asking about 50 questions, 60 questions about your quantitative metric. Now, institutions who take their SSR very, very light and they prepare it randomly has this problem. So when they specifically ask, like say, the student Mahesh, who has completed his value-added courses on this particular topic, provide me the certificate. If they ask like that, you will be searching a needle in a haystack. Many a times, whenever institution think, no, I will give the number tomorrow, I will look at the data, or I will feel like doing it more tomorrow. I am so stressed today. Like these people will be happening to be like this, the other side of the slide where you're saying during the data validation time, because you had randomly given the numbers and now you will be checking in your document like this. That is why we say stitch in time saves 9, which means when you're designing your data, you're designing your SSR itself, it is better to keep your data, number, the template and the supporting documents all aside in a separate file, so that when the DVV asks anything, you will be able to take up that file, take up that particular document and provide it easily. Any institution who prepares their SSR systematically have gone through the assessment and accreditation process very, very smoothly. Any institution which has been patching up their numbers every now and then has always had problems in DVV, and hence the deviation also gets more and more. So this is to understand, for you to understand very clearly, a beautiful SOP has been given to you. Ignorance is no more a bliss. So in order to educate the institution, what is the expectation of NAAC? A proper SOP has been already given to you before the process starts. So you can go through that SOP. When you're reading a metric, first I will advise all the institutions to first register, that is number one. And number two is to go through the manual from page 1 to page N, that is glossaries, it's in the last page. Why accreditation is in the first page. So from the first page to the last page, please patiently go through it. This is understanding NAAC and assessment process completely. But to understand the framework, you should, every metric be accompanied by the template and the SOP. You have to read it together to understand the holistic meaning of that particular metric, so that it will be helpful for you to understand what to include and what not to include. SOP also have got series of instructions about hosting your data, because every metric, wherever they are asking, you will be allowed to upload data up to 5 MB. Suppose if your details are more than 5 MB, we expect you to host the data in the institution's website and give the link there in that particular box where we have given for each metric. So hosting the data is allowed in the institution's website, but not in Google Drive, not in Amazon Drive, or not in any other third-party websites. The assessment and accreditation is between NAAC and the institution. We do not want any other third party coming in, including the consultancies for that matter. Now, time and again, there are changes that comes to SOPs. There are corrections that we make when great minds like you, when you will be pointing out a mistake is a mistake, though NAAC makes it or anybody makes it. So we would like to correct it, and those corrections are also carried out to the SOP. So it's important that you SOP as on-fly document. That is, don't download it. Let it be there in the NAAC's website, but you refer it to the NAAC website itself, because any corrections made will be updated there. Templates are very, very intensive data. So you cannot make it convenient for you by removing a column. नहीं, ये डेटा मेरे पास नहीं है तो ये कॉलम को हम लोग निकाल देते हैं. प्लीज उसको मत कीजिए. अगर आपके पास डेटा नहीं है तो उसको ब्लैंक छोड़ दीजिए, because if you correct anything in the template and if the templates are not there, the format in which NAAC has given, that also causes some operational flaws for your institution. Now, in a DVV clarification, when they rise, the questions will be something like this. Provide the brochures for all programs that have been operating during the last 5 years, when we are talking about number of programs offered. Now, you are supposed to give for this, whatever details is asked, you have to club all these things into one file and you have to upload it here in the file chosen. Okay, choose file and you will be uploading it. 5 MB limit will be provided here. So like this, for each this thing, DVV, they will be asking a question and clarification, and you will need to clarify. If you want to type anything, you can type it here. The brochures of all the years have been attached here. Okay, like that you can type. So for each question, you need to know. Sometimes the data is very, very huge, which means, like for example, audited expenditure, when they're asking, 1 year's audit expenditure will run for 30 pages. So for a specific metric, when we are asking, like say expenditure to the maintenance of infrastructure. So in that audit expenditure, where are the maintenance columns that you're trying to refer to? It is a good point to be precise to what they have asked and to highlight wherever you want the special attention of DVV. and to upload all the documents for 5 MB in the NAAC portal itself. Beyond 5 MB, if you want to provide more data, you can give a link and you can update it in your institution's website. Now, many people try to do this, that they put all the information in their institution website. They don't give any information in NAAC portal. But sometimes, God forbid, that if there were to be some kind of failure in your website is not working, the links are not working during DVV will provide 0 and keep moving on. But that will not happen if you upload the data in NAAC's portal. So that is why we insist institution to upload the data in NAAC's portal, more than 5 MB data or additional data if you have, only that to be hosted in institution's website. Now, every process is time bound. After you submit your IIQA, 45 days for SSR, the total DVV process is 30 days, within which 15 days is for the DVV to look into the data and ask you the questions. Another 15 days is for you to answer to the clarification of DVV. And after that, within 30 days of the pre-qualification, you need to pay the second installment SSR fee, and your peer team has to be conducted. After peer team is over, another 1 month, your results will be announced. So all the process is very, very time bound. If you miss any process in this, you will be as a non-response institution. So for non-response institution who do not answer for DVV clarification, they will be forcefully withdrawn from the institution assessment and accreditation process. Till then, whatever fee you have paid, you will be forfeiting it. For 1 year, you will not be able to apply, and you will be able to again apply for assessment accreditation after 1 year. Now, there is something called as a deviation. That is the first SSR value what you give, and what is the value confirmed by DVV after verification and validation. The difference between these two is called as deviation. Now, deviation attracts penalty. Now, what penalty? As on date, we have said that these penalties, let us not apply it to the institution, but it may come back again at any point of time. But more than penalty, it is about losing or winning the trust of NAAC. NAAC trusts you, and that is why the face value, we ask you to prepare your own SSR. But whether you want to win the trust of NAAC or lose the trust of NAAC is up to you, of how less you have deviation with the value that you submit in SSR and the value that is confirmed after DVV. This decides how better an institution is prepared or understood about the process when it does. Now, you understand about 70%, which means precisely 66% of your assessment gets completed with QNM. Now, beyond that, many people think that I will not give the details here in the DVV. Probably when the peer team comes, I will show it to them. Now, peer team will not be able to correct the data of QNM, because only after ascertaining your QNM, we are letting the peer team come to you, which means no process is less important or no process is more important in NAAC assessment and accreditation process. All the process is equally important. So, if it is QNM, you need to provide all the data in the assessment and accreditation itself, in the QNM itself. Cannot be waiting for the peer team to come and check it. So 70% of your assessment accreditation will be over with your pre-qualification. After the pre-qualification is done, then the peer team comes to you to visit you. Now, the DVV process is entirely transparent. Whatever the DVV is accepting or rejecting your claim, you will be able to see it. You will be able to justify it with one-time clarification only. And that clarification has to be so crisp and so precise that you will be able to explain to DVV very clearly, why are you making that claim? Now, many institutions try to chase the metric. Let me tell you, in the chase between Tom and Jerry, it is the Jerry who always wins. It's not about what you chase. Now, it's not about how you chase. Tom being a bigger animal, it could always win. But it is Tom who is losing, because Tom runs behind food, but Jerry runs for life. So what is your run for? Is your run for metrics? These metrics will change. In the next revision, we will change all those metrics. And to next revision, we will change all the metrics. What is your run towards? Your run should be for quality. It's not to the number. It has to be to the quality. It's not about how many numbers of value added program you're doing, but how is this value added program benefiting the students back? Why we are asking this? If you understand the intent of the metric, if you understand how this is supposed to improve the quality of the institution, then you will see that the impact of quality will be already absorbed by the institution. Then the number and quality will absolutely match. When this does not match, it is very evident, or it will be very clear that the institution is running behind numbers and not running for quality for that matter. Now, NAAC encourages all the institution to read the manual hosted in NAAC website properly and prepare in advance itself your SSR even before the submission of IAQA, because it gives you a very good time for you to understand the SSR very well. You preparing the SSR is like you prepare a good food for your loved ones. We always can get food from the hotel also, isn't it? When you buy from the hotel and serve it on your dining table. But more than that, when you prepare it yourself, you have the love and affection, care what you wanted to take, the nutrition values, whatever you wanted to add to your family, you will have it there on your dining table. Just like that, preparing an SSR by yourself with all your faculties chipping in itself is a very, very great moment, because together you will be understanding where you stand in quality. Together you will be understanding for each department, each program, you know what you are lagging in. Precisely even before the submission of SSR, you will be able to know where I lag, where I can work more, where is my challenge, where is my opportunity. You will be able to work more. But many people also sought out to take the help of other consultants and other kind of people also to prepare your SSR. I would not advise that, because if you're looking towards quality of an institution, it is merely not what you type in SSR, but rather than what you reflect in SSR. So that reflection will not be perfect until you don't prepare it by yourself. Now, also, as per SOP, collect all the documents and keep it ready, classify it and keep it ready, understand the glossaries very well, understand the abbreviation. Like, for example, now I said CIE. Now, where to look for that CIE? Look for the abbreviations. There, CIE means continuous internal evaluation is very clearly given. And some of the things like, every metric have 5 MB data. Those are also given in the SOP. So 25% is the pre-qualification. After 25%, if you pre-qualify, excluding your student satisfaction survey, you will be allowed to take the peer team visit. If you are not pre-qualified, means if your score is less than 25%, which means you will not even make up to the D grade, and hence you will be withdrawn from the assessment and accreditation process. Now, SSS and peer team visit. SSS is the student satisfaction survey. Now, which is the metric 2.7.1. Now here, while submitting the SSR itself, here in the SSR, if you go profile of manage SSR, you will be filling in all these details, and before you submit it, a details of students for the student satisfaction survey will be asked. Now here, if you click that, in this format, we want your students' detail. That is, presently in your campus, how many students are there? At least 50% of that number. We need the details of these students, which means, suppose if you have around 100 students in your campus, minimum at least 50 students detail, we want this. So it is better always to give, like we say, no, in the sample when we take, if your sample is in a good amount, then your representation of population will be right. So if you give, it is not that only 50% you have to give. You can give up to 100% also. So all the 100 students detail also you can give. Maximum as possible you try to provide. So in one Excel sheet, 500 students details can be uploaded. So if you have more than 500 students, you will split it into 2 Excel sheets and you will be uploading it twice. Now, you are not supposed to delete any column, or you should make sure that there is no typographic error in the email address and all these things. The unique enrollment ID can be either your student ID or your exam ID, whatever one you can follow. And the time period of survey is for 1 month. All precautions that you take is that an institution can enable the student to attend the survey. An institution can encourage a student to attend the survey, but an institution should not influence the student to give that number for that survey. Please be ensured that let us keep quiet. Let us make the system to reveal what is your student thinking about your institution. Many of the people, actually, when we were talking about the student satisfaction survey for the first time when we introduced it, many students were saying, many institutions were saying, what does student know to assess the quality of the institution? What if the students vindicate the institution? But let me tell you, dear, till date, there has not been any student satisfaction survey where the students have rated their institutions as low as possible, which means even the students own the institutions. The students are pride about their institution, but they're also sometimes critical on the aspects where the institutions have to improve themselves. So it is better to leave it that way, that let the students express their opinion onto the survey. So there are about 20 objective questions about teaching learning process we ask the students to. The 21st question is subjective. Now in the subjective, we ask the student, where do you think that the institution have to improve? So now all the 20 questions will be combined together to give an average score for that student satisfaction survey. The 21st subjective question, whatever they write, will be combined together and it will be provided to the peer team members to understand and evaluate the situation based on their subjectivity that they have given about. So now in the random sample, how do we take a random sample? Suppose you have 1,500 students in the campus. We take about, the institution can give, like say 750 student details there in the portal. Once you submit the SSR, 30% of the 750 will be 255 students will be called for the survey. Now, out of this, about 10% of the students at least have to respond. That is 10% of 1,500 have to respond, which means 150 students have to respond. Once 150 students responds or 100 students, whichever is lower, 100 is standard. So now, even if 99 students respond, only one is not responding, then the entire value will become 0. So which means for an institution to get at least a score in the survey, minimum representation from the survey has to be there. At least minimum number of respondents have to be there in the survey. So you can monitor this in your dashboard itself. Details of student survey, if you go there, you will see how much percentage they have completed. If they have completed more than 10%, rest is assured that you will be getting a score in this. But if it is less than 10%, institutions should start advertising it in the students' canteen, in the classrooms, in places where the students gather. A poster has already been prepared by NAAC. That poster, you need to put it and you need to tell the students, check your email. There could have been an email inviting you for a survey. Please attend that. You need to tell this to them. Okay. Now, how does this work? When you submit your IIQA has a standard fee of 25,000 plus GST. Now, beyond that, we also have this first time when you will be submitting your SSR, a fee is levied to you, a portion of fee there. Then after pre-qualification, the second component of the fee has to be paid. Along with that, the institution will select 3 dates and logistic details like distance from the airport and nearest 3 hotel details will be providing. But here in this, NAAC will be booking the tickets for the peer team. NAAC will be selecting the peer team. We have about 4,000 assessors. From the assessor, we will randomly select the assessor for your institution. That will be informed only 3 days before. Local transportation and food only has to be provided by the institution. The ticket booking, the hotel booking, and all the other expenditures will be given to the institution, to the peer team by the NAAC itself. So the institution is not supposed to pay anything to the peer team member in cash or in kind. So the peer team is about for 2 days. 3 experts, that is one chairman, one member coordinator, and one member will be visiting to the institution. Sometimes if there is a need, then an observer is also sent along with. Now this peer team will thoroughly check your SSR and the details that you have mentioned in reality with the institution, and they will submit the online peer team report and scores for the institution. Once it is submitted, then the results can be announced at any point of time whenever the standing committee will be convened in NAAC. And usually the standing committee meeting held in once in a month. Nowadays we are holding it once in a week because we don't want the institution to wait for their results. The institutions can expect the results once it is declared within the month at the maximum. And in the this thing, in the result, the grade sheet of the institution, the peer team report, the graphical representation of the institution, like how, in which metric they scored what benchmark, that also will be given to them. And with all these things, a grade sheet, which we explained earlier only, was given to them. So the entire thing is about well-defined time. So IIQA, once you submit within 15 days, it will be accepted or rejected. SSR, within 45 days of acceptance of IIQA, you need to submit your SSR. Your DVV and SSS process will happen side by side. Well, somebody asked me, what is SSS? Is this student satisfaction survey? So these two processes will happen simultaneously. So at one side, your students will be attending the survey. On the other side, the data will be validated and verified by a third party. Now, after this, pre-qualification will be declared. After the pre-qualification is declared, within 30 to 60 days, you're supposed to take the peer team visit. Now, after the peer team visit submits their score and their report, within 30 days, the institution's results will be declared. In this process, anywhere if you have a doubt, if you register yourself in NAAC portal, you get this called as support help desk. Here you can click, and whatever your doubt is about, you can write it within 1 day. Yes, you're listening to me very appropriately. Within 1 day, which is 24 hours, we will be attending to your query and giving you an appropriate solution for whatever the problem that you have been facing as quick as possible. There are also help desk numbers and help desk email. If you wish to write an email to us, you can always do this so that we will be able to address to the issues. So thank you very much. I hope I have covered as much as possible in detail. And of course, I should also say that, yes, I'm well in time also. In case if you want to ask any kind of questions that you wanted to ask, I'll be more happy to explain it.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for your informative and valuable talk. Ma'am, there are some questions in the chat box. If your permission, I would like to ask the questions which were noted in the chat box by the participants.
I will read it myself, yeah. How
Okay,
marks
ma'am.
are calculated for SSS? Like, now I told you that there are 20 questions. So for every 20 questions, for each question, there is 1 to 4 number. Any one number will be awarded by each student. Like say, there are about 100 students who are selected for the survey. Each one gives some mark for the first metric. That average mark, whatever they have given, will be taken as the average mark for your first question. So like this, we will consider the vertical average and the horizontal average. Now, when we calculate the vertical average and the horizontal average, at the end, the entire survey will be reduced to 0 to 4, whatever the number that would come as an average. So that becomes the average mark for your student satisfaction survey. That will be multiplied with the weightage that we have given for student satisfaction survey, which should be about 30 weightage or something like that. Now, the next is about is registration of IIQA mandatory for first cycle. For all cycles, IIQA is mandatory. IQAC is mandatory. Okay, no, IQAC you are talking about, I'm sorry. IQAC is not mandatory for the first cycle. Rather, IQAC gets established after the first cycle. But for the question that we are asking you for IQAC in the criteria 6, it is not IQAC exactly, but any kind of body which you have to monitor quality also will be taken into consideration. And any other question?
That's all, ma'am. There is no
That's
more
all?
questions in
Okay.
the chat box.
Good.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for enlightening us on the changes introduced for the law colleges through the new manual. Now, I request the Dr. Sheetal Barate, ma'am, for delivering the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Shivani. Am I clearly audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are clearly audible.
Okay. So, on behalf of MLNG Society's Manikchand Pahade Law College, Aurangabad, first of all, I take this opportunity to express my sincere thanks to respected Dr. Priya Narayan Madam for guiding us with her detailed discourse on the changes which are introduced through new manual for law colleges. Definitely, we are quite sure, madam. Information, your guidance, which you have shared with all of us, definitely it will be useful for all the participants in their NAAC preparation. Once again, thank you so much, madam, for such a informative discourse. I am also grateful to all the participants who have actively participated in this first session of the seminar. I am also grateful to respected members of MLNG Society, Principal Sir, Vice Principal Sir, IQC Coordinator, and all the teaching and non-teaching staff of this college. I appreciate efforts which are taken by Shivani, who is a student anchor for this session. I am also thankful to her. Thank you, one and all. Over to you, Shivani.
Thank you, ma'am. Here I declared that the first session is over. Now I would like to request my friend Soham Khambate, student anchor for the second session, to take over the charge. Over to you, Soham.
Thank you, Shivani. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Soham Khambate from LLB first year, and I welcome you all to the second session in the two-day national level online seminar on new process of NAAC accreditation and assessment of legal education institutions in India. It is my honor to welcome and introduce to you all our resource person for this session, Dr. Nidhi Buch, Head Placement and Internship Division at Gujarat National Law University, Gandhinagar. Ma'am is an assistant professor of law at GNLU, Gandhinagar, for the last 10 years. That now adds up to a total of 21 years of teaching. She has completed her PhD in intellectual property rights. Along with it, she has completed her LLM, LLB, BA, GSLET, and UGC NET. Her areas of general interest include intellectual property rights, legal education, women and law, jurisprudence. He is currently working on law of copyrights and law of geographical indications and trademarks. Ma'am has acquired an expertise in the sector of intellectual property rights over the years. She has authored 2 books, namely Geographical Indications of Indian Handlooms Between the Legal Right and the Real Right, the UK edition, and has co-authored for the same book in the South Asia version. He has contributed in 2 chapters in separate upcoming books on focusing on protection of traditional knowledge, geographical indications, and rights of indigenous people, and role of authorized users in adding efficacy to geographical indication and protection in India. 8 of her articles are published in various journals like the Indian Journal of Law and Legal Research, International Research Journal of Human Resources and Social Science, and Gujarat Law Journal. A set of 5 booklets on Roadmap to Justice, a gender-sensitive judgment series on violence against women, was published by Gender Resource Center, Gujarat. And in a souvenir of NAAC-sponsored national conference held in 2016, an article on the topic, Legal Education, Global Challenges, Higher Education in Post-Globalization Scenario, was published. Ma'am has also presented research papers in more than 13 international and national conferences, including IP Scholars Asia 2018, Singapore Management University, Singapore, Institute of Law, Nirma University, and National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. Along with this, she has been an active participant of more than 30 international and national seminars and workshops with topics ranging from teaching material production for CBCS pattern for law, safeguarding the entertainment industries, pressing concerns of contemporary legal world, and patent laws in India and the United States of America. Ma'am has also organized 11 training programs and has participated in 3 programs, including one organized by CII Texas and A&M University of Law, USA, in the fall of 2020. It is indeed a proud moment for all of us that Dr. Nidhi Buch ma'am has been recognized and awarded as one of the 100 powerful Intellectual Property Women in India in 2020 to 2021 by World IP Forum, along with 8 other prestigious awards and prizes, including 3 gold medals from Gujarat University for securing highest marks in BA Economics third year from the whole university. He has also been invited to guide and deliver lectures at over 50 forums of national and international presence and is a visiting faculty at more than 20 plus institutions. Ma'am has been a member of more than 15 internal committees and 8 other institutions, including the United World School of Law, Federation of Women Lawyers Gujarat, and 2 of talk shows, and as an expert, including the Gujarati Doordarshan. Currently, she is a member of Gujarat Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries and other 3 institutions. Ma'am, we are honored by your presence and we are grateful for your valuable time. A small request to all the respected participants. Please keep your videos and mic switched off during the whole session. Any queries, questions, doubts, I request you to please type them in the chat box. Our team will take a note of them. A 10-minute question and answer session will be kept after the session. Now I request respected Dr. Nidhi Buch ma'am to please guide us on today's topic, Roadmap for Developing Placement and Internship Culture in Law Colleges. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that generous introduction. In fact, I'm sure it must have raised the expectations of the participants, and I'll try my best to do justice to those expectations. Without wasting much of time, I will directly go to the topic which has been given to me. We will be talking today about internship and placement, and more precisely, we will be talking about the roadmap for internship and placement. Allow me a minute for sharing my presentation with all of you, and if the student anchor can just confirm whether my presentation is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, it is completely visible, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think I'll put it on the slideshow. Yes, I'm going to talk about the placement and internship culture in law colleges. In fact, talking about the placement and internship, we are looking at it as a culture, and we are going to talk about the roadmap. Why so? Is it sudden? Is this change a demand of time, or is this something which we were not doing earlier and now suddenly we have to do? I think there are a number of queries and questions which would come to mind when with other allied and associated topics with regard to the growth of any educational institute of higher education. Internship and placement is being talked about. The answer one has to look into, to start with, the paradigm shift which is taking place as far as the entire landscape of higher education is concerned. If we look at it, I think nobody would disagree to a fact that the entire landscape of higher education in India has undergone a drastic change, major change, and of course legal education being no exception to it, facing the same kind of changes. In fact, when we talk about these kind of changes, we definitely have to look at how momentous transformation has taken place with regard to the legal education. The legal education before 3 to 4 decades was limited to a conventional course in 3 years. I think with the establishment of the first national law school that took place in 80s, that is National Institute of that is National Law School Bangalore, which is known as NLU Bangalore. Now, with this establishment, there has been a noticeable change in the legal education. I'm well aware of the fact that those who are with me on the session definitely are aware. But I think this background is very much important for us to, for me rather, to draw your attention to, so that we can definitely be in that convinced mode when we are talking about how and why we are are trying to develop this culture of placement and internship in law institute, law colleges, law universities, law schools. I'm sure we are aware that for a law professional, there is a requirement of a Bachelor of Law. And with 3 years and 5 years, both, we are now offering legal education in 2 different packages. Looking at the 5 years integrated courses, which are very popular, I think before 3 decades, people did not know that so many students once will sit, like more than 50,000 students yearly, take an entrance exam for securing admission, securing seat in a national law school. The reason is that this integrated courses are very uniquely developed to meet with the demand of the time and make them a law professional which is suitable for the professional demands and requirement. Legal profession is definitely very, very competitive, and of course it is not just the academic requirement and the qualification which will be sufficient. Along with that, a practitioner is expected to possess certain skills such as advocacy, drafting, research to deal with the diverse and expanding world of legal practice. There are a number of niche areas of research, legal various laws which are developing, like say for example intellectual property, like technology law, law for data protection, military law, maritime law, infrastructure law, international trade and business law, arbitration law, right, competition law. All these different set of laws which are developing are certainly coming with lot many requirements also from the legal professional. So understanding law in global context has become imperative. With rapid increase in volume and diversification of international trade and commerce, and I'm sure all of us would agree to this particular statement. So the establishment and growth of multinational corporations, banking and insurance sector functioning at global level, and along with merger and acquisition that are taking place at the larger scale, they have posed multiple challenges, and they are posing multiple requirements from the legal professional. So how these requirements, how these challenges can be met with? So in order to meet with these kind of challenges, the lawyers must possess, as I mentioned earlier, some skills apart from their academic qualification, which is also a bundle of soft skills. They need to know effective communication, techniques of persuasion, analytical thinking, resilience, integrity, strategic thought about needs of clients, leadership skill, problem solving skills, so on and so forth. So how do we incorporate all these things in the law school curriculum? In fact, the law school curriculum is already a power packed package. Is there a scope for these kind of skills to be incorporated? So I think we are, and the requirement definitely is academic qualification plus these skills. So how do we make our students convert into a professional who can fill this gap and can meet with the demand of the profession? I think for that we definitely have to talk about the internship, which can definitely help. Of course, this background I think now will be sufficient for us to talk about the placement and internship. Of course, placement is something which is also known as recruitment, is something which is the last target. And why so? Of course, ideally we would say that education is not meant for it, but yes, in the practical age and in this age of globalization, professional courses definitely has a very you can say a decided destination, and that is to find yourself. I would not look at placement from a very narrow perspective. I would say placement means you decide to work with any organization, with firm, with in academia, anywhere you decide and see yourself down the line 5 years as a professional. And that is how we look at placement or recruitment. But then that road is taking through number of destinations. students. So with this background, I think we can talk about, and as a teacher, I definitely would, look at the terms and try and understand and define it so that I can do justice to the topic that I'm talking about. Talking about the roadmap, right? Why are we saying roadmap to developing this kind of culture of internship and placement in law colleges? A roadmap definitely is a strategic plan that defines a goal or desired outcome and includes the major steps or milestones needed to reach it. It's a very common definition prescribed in general parlance, but I think this can definitely help us again, identify what all things we should be discussing here. So I think I will be talking about this building blocks. I will be talking about these four things. Number one, in order to develop the culture of internship and placement, the most important thing is sensitization of students. Of course, the demands definitely are coming from the outside world. The world is posing these challenges, and we have to keep our students ready to meet with these challenges. So the most important thing is to sensitize students. Then, of course, establishing an internal structure. There has to be an internal structure that can deal with all these things in an appropriate manner. Formation of internship and placement cell. There has to be a specific division, department, cell, whatever name which is to be given to this, but there has to be a specific department that would look after these requirements of students and can definitely help them secure it in a better manner. And all these things would not work unless and until there is strategic development and promotion of university branding, which is very, very important, because as we, I think generally we say that the university, I always say that what GNLU is all thanks to our students. We have been blessed to get excellent quality of students always, who come with a set of values, and they really bring a lot of reputation to us, and we have been able to develop the brand GNLU thanks to our students. In the same manner, it works the otherwise also for students. More number of students are desirous of coming to a particular university because they recognize that university with a particular brand. So in that manner, this will work both the ways and will create a win-win situation for student as well as the institute. So strategic development and promotion of university branding is also very important. So these are the four building blocks I am looking at. Now, taking you all further to, because I was just talking about how there is a package which is required these days. It's not just the academic qualification which can help. What is required is, these 6 blocks again, which are there in front of you on the screen, and how internship would help, because, it's the way in which the first and the foremost and the most important thing that internship would do is they would bridge the gap between classroom concept explanation and effective application of the same in human life situation, right? Because law is something which is known to be, in a way, the black letter of law is dead. But when it is interpreted, when it is applied to the human life situation, it comes alive. So this is a journey. So whatever concepts which are being handled conceptually within 4 corners of classroom will be applied to human life situation through internship. So it will help a student develop their professional skills and broader understanding of legal profession and process principles. It will help them identify their area of interest, because when they start working with other professionals, they recognize how it is being done, what areas are creating some sort of interest for them, what are the market needs, what is the way in which they can decide on their area of specialization in future, and they will definitely be able to gain first-hand experience experience of a particular workplace, of that particular workplace, whether it is a think tank, it is an NGO, it is a law firm, it is a chamber, or these days number of students also work as research assistants with different centers of different law schools, or they work with some professors also, help them in their project and learn those skills of research and understand the principles of law in a better manner. It further enables students to participate more effectively, because when they come back from the internship, they grow with every internship, right? So academically, they are growing semester wise, and with the break that they have between 2 semesters, when they go for internship, when they come back with some real world experience, real human life situation experience, and when they bring that back to classroom, I think they are more interested to study further. Their horizon, their understanding about legal principles definitely gets broader, and they grow every day, every semester with this kind of experience. So I'm not undermining definitely the significance of classroom teaching. That is the base. Without that, the internship experience will just not help. But the overall package would be excellent when both these things simultaneously take place, the classroom teaching and then the internship experience together. So with that, as they intern more, they learn more in the classroom, they identify the area of interest, the student will start looking at himself or herself as X kind of law professional, and they will be able to make specific choices. And these days the world is extremely competitive, so sooner the better the students must recognize where does their interest lie, what is the set of skills which are required to achieve that, and accordingly they must start working on their career specific choices. So internship will help student in this manner. So going back to the building blocks, the first block that I was talking about, sensitization of students. How do we do that, right? Because internship means we are saying that it will give you skills, opportunities, set goal, you will find your mentors, there will be experience, you will get trained in particular area, and of course it will add to your overall development. So for that, how best they can utilize this time inside the classroom and outside the classroom, I think from the very first year, orientation program must start, formal, informal, both. And that is something which at GNLU is a regular course of, you can say, which is something which is done at a regular in the regular manner, formally as well as informally, from the very first year. So when they are making choices in future, they are assisted at every stage. The mentorship program that I am envisaging, because I'm working in the internship and placement cell since 2014. So over a period of time, what I have learned is that whatever whatever requirement they have is and can be fulfilled through mentorship program. The students can be involved with the senior batches, with the alumni, and then both together can definitely help each batch grow better. So the mentorship program, with the identification of each batch, their choices, and giving them mentor, can definitely help. That will help them secure good internship also on their own, which will help them know more about where do they belong to, what are the set of skills that they need to acquire, and of course that will then ultimately place them at an appropriate with the appropriate organization of their choice. Of course, alumni interaction, I think nothing can replace alumni, and the because what they can pass on is something which cannot be substituted by any teacher or anyone. And that is how alumni interaction, I think, in sensitizing students will play a major role. Apart from that, there are two other important things which can be done. This is something which is building their understanding about the market requirement and about their own self. And apart from that, there are these simultaneous things which are required, which is regularly conducting certain section, giving them opportunity for career development activities, mock interviews, CV building, CV making, even asking them to that's what we do, asking students to submit their CVs or resume in a particular format, so that there is an identity which is established of a particular law school also, that ex law school or law college student CV will be in this particular manner which will be given. So that uniformity, that standardization, again, that can help build our brand also. So this is something, when it is done on regular basis, it will definitely make students very sensitive, and then they can definitely work better towards their career choices. Major classification that I think is seen across the law schools is for internship is in this manner. The first year students generally intern with the NGOs. That definitely will make them more society sensitive, and that can definitely help them understand how law can work in this manner with the societal interface. So, and working with NGOs in the first year, then they go to trial court. It is important that when they go to trial court, they have some understanding of basic laws, like some curriculum changes if required should be there. I can speak of our own experience. In fact, at GNLU we used to conduct a course on civil procedure code in the third year, which in a way is the right year, because students develop that kind of understanding to appreciate the civil procedure. However, the requirement of trial court internship was such that without understanding the basics of procedural law, if they are thrown to the internship, probably it would not help them more. So now it is being carried forward in the third semester, so that when they go in their second year for trial court internship, they know the fundamentals of procedural law. I think this is the way in which, if things can be facilitated, students can get maximum out of their internship. Then third year onwards, it's always high court, Supreme Court, law firm, corporate house, PSUs, government departments, anything and everything, and as per the student's choice. And it's the duty of the institute to facilitate their internship requirement. That's what GNLU does. Talking about the placements, I think majorly there are two ways in which the recruitment would take place. That is on campus, off campus, and of course, when we talk about on campus, it is either initially through pre-placement offers, and then it would be through conducting day zero, and then it will go on till the end of their fifth year on the campus. So, and of course, alumni also, I think we facilitate through our alumni division whatever offers we get for our experienced students, because that will go to our alumni. So across the batches, all students, they are facilitated for their internship requirement, and then the placement would work in this manner. Due to paucity of time, I'm not taking you all to the minute details of how does it work, but majorly on campus and off campus. Of course, COVID definitely put us on in a way in a virtual world for a couple of years, but I'm glad we are back to the physical world, and we are back to the original physical human interaction for the placements as well. So it can be, the prospects are endless, right? Lot many career opportunities are there. People can work in litigation, corporate affairs, social service related sector. Then they can go for further studies. There are students who opt for competitive exams. They want to go to foreign university for making their career in academia, so on and so forth. They can work with think tank, NGOs, lot many opportunities are available, and depending on what are their requirement, I think the internal structure must respond to that, so that maximum number of students are facilitated with these things. Career related activities, what can be undertaken with regards to their internship and placement, I think personality development based workshops, what are the options, what are the career choices after law school, something on interview techniques, something on drafting and writing, on CV building, interactive sessions with industry professionals, one-to-one counseling, personal feedback, mock interviews, and of course, as I mentioned, networking with alumni as well as immediate senior for career guidance, because that is where informally, formally, they can definitely be sensitized towards what is the requirement and how they need to respond to their individual need as well as the market need. So these are career based and career related activities that can be undertaken. Now the second important building block, which is with regard to formation of recruitment cell and structure. So there has to be an internal cell which must respond to these requirements, because otherwise, unless, because with more number of students, if there is no such structure which is there to respond to this kind of needs in a formal manner, I think things would not be managed appropriately, and it will not give us desired results. So how a recruitment structure should be, it can be anything depending on what is suitable to the institute. It can be a combination of faculty, it can be admin staff, it can be a completely student run also. So it depends on what is something which is required as per the nature of the institute and what is suitable to their requirement. Accordingly, an internal structure can be created. The major function, I think there are a number of duties, functions, responsibilities which can be enlisted, and rather the list can go on and on. But working with this particular department since there are so many years, I can say that mainly there are two, right? One single most important function which will cover all other responsibilities and duties is to facilitate internships and placements of all students, and it also is something which is to do it in a manner that more number of internship, variety of internship with various numerous institute definitely then can fetch good placement. So internship is a way to good placements, and that is something which the internal structure can keep in mind, the sale can keep in mind, people working in the department can keep in mind, and then work towards it. And of course they must understand and appreciate that their role is just of a link between students and external agency, right? So they are not there working as a recruitment agency, they are a link. They have to establish that rapport and link between student and the external agency. There are three ways in which you can have your internal structure. You can have completely admin run, and admin means will have your administrative as well as academic members. You can have completely student run sale, or you can have a combination of admin student run sale, right? So there are three options available, and taking as I said, responding to your own needs, one should carve out. So there are law schools that are having completely student run cell, and if I talk about GNLU, we have a combination. Of course, at the end of the presentation I will take you to that particular part and how we are having a combination of all, and it is working well and it is producing good results for us. So that is something which I will talk. But before that, let me talk about what is the significance of university branding as far as the internship and placement is concerned. And this is something which is done by targeting these four things. Number one, the campus collaboration opportunities with potential recruiter is very important. Placement outreach, alumni outreach, and of course then preparation of a robust internship policy. So over a period of time, there is a brand which is created, which is established with the help of your own student, and that is how each and every organization will be eager to give you opportunity. Over a period of time, one has to be patient and wait till your students get settled down with the outside agency, and then this, because they will, how will they recognize you? They will recognize you, they will recognize your value system, they will recognize your academic curriculum setup and everything with the way in which your student are working with them. So your students are your mirror image there, and they represent, they are our ambassador there. So once they are settled there, then they definitely can, you know, help develop and promote our brand. So and of course the campus collaboration also play a major role, and that's how, you know, you can have moot with a recruiter, you can have essay competitions with a recruiter, you can have a lecture series with a recruiter, there can be workshop, there can be seminars, anything which is of such nature, which is academia industry collaboration, which can fetch good academic results, can be organized, and that is how a rapport can be, you know, built, and that is how it can help us you know, promote and build and develop our brand. So I said that I will be talking about, you know, GNLU's internship and placement division. So talking about GNLU's placement and internship division, we have a combination of faculty, administrative staff and students. We have a faculty body that is sort of a faculty committee that is responsible for taking all policy decisions, and that particular faculty committee, along with the faculty head, who's identified and recognized by the university authority, and they are given this particular task at hand. Then there is a separate set of administrative staff who are identified for this job, and they are working as a separate division. So there is a section officer in GNLU. Apart from that, there is a senior clerk who's also working, and minimum 2 staff, I would say, for a law school is required, considering the kind of work which is involved on day-to-day basis. In fact, there are law schools where there are no faculty involved directly, no admin staff is there, it is completely student run. However, talking about GNLU's experience, combination of these three definitely is working very well for us. And the last but the most important part of this division is the student members, and the student members work with this particular division from 3rd year onwards, and we call their committee on recruitment affairs. That is the 5th year students. Then there is preparatory committee on recruitment affairs, that is 4th year students, and pre-preparatory committee on recruitment affairs, that is 3rd year. So from 3rd year onwards, the students start working with this particular department of placement and internship, and with their seniors being there managing everything, they learn how to help their own students in this manner. So that is something which is helping, and a huge group of students representing almost all 3 senior batches help us extensively. So the 3rd, 4th and 5th year students help not just in logistical management, but they definitely help us in policy making also. They contribute. My experience tells me that each and every batch that has worked, the bunch of students that has worked with the division have extensively contributed, and with their contribution only probably GNLU has reached to this particular level, where we are getting more and more number of pre-placement offers for students, and we are also getting more number of you can say day zero offer, and then across the year as we run the placement throughout. Apart from this, I am also tempted to talk to you about how diverse opportunities are required to be created for students these days. Because not all students would prefer to go to litigation, or not all students would prefer to go to law schools. They have their different choices, and we are here to facilitate all their choices and selection of career. So how do we do that? In fact, GNLU is having a very unique initiative in form of GLASS, that is GNLU Litigation Assistance Scheme, and that is recognizing those students who want to make their career in litigation, and then they are given financial assistance for 1 year. Because of course, as those who have been in this particular field are aware, that litigation is an area where immediate payment, financial benefit is much lesser compared to jobs which are secured with law firms. Law firm jobs are very lucrative, so more and more number of students would prefer to work with law firms. But the original, you can say, objective of the law school system is to make significant contribution to bar and bench, and to stick to that, and to try and fulfill that, GNLU introduced this, because we recognize that students are not going to litigation. One of the reasons is this, that they are not getting sufficient financial benefit that they want. So we identified this problem and we introduced this, and we have 10 such financial scholarships which are available, and for 1 year they get 15,000 rupees every month, on of course the requirements of submission of report, bar examination. There are rules and regulations drafted, and accordingly, with a very rigorous selection method, passing through that, they are chosen. And 5 from EWS, economically weaker section, and 5 for general are the seats which are kept for this particular financial assistance. And it is since 2015, so we are almost in the 7th year of this particular scheme, and it is really working very well and is widely appreciated. So I think these kind of ideas are also required to be thrown when we are talking about how to facilitate internship and placement across, also how to facilitate their career choices, and try and know their difficulties and try and resolve those things. So I think with this, I have come to an end of my presentation. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, and in case of any query, I am open for that. Thank you for your patient hearing.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. If there are any queries, please place it in the chat box as was mentioned by the anchor.
Seems there are no questions. I again request the respected participants, if there are any queries, we'll wait for a minute.
Most probably very exhaustively ma'am has discussed the things, and they are much satisfied with that. Even we can gaze like that. Yes.
I would like to buy that if there are no such questions. I think there are two, possibilities. One, either it has been very lucid and fluent, which I would like to buy, and number two, there is nothing which has gone to their head, which definitely I would not like to agree.
Yes. Shall we proceed ahead, ma'am?
Yes, please, please.
Thank you, ma'am, for your valuable words and your time. As mentioned, there is a feedback link mentioned in our chat box. I request all the participants to please register that feedback by clicking on the link. And now I request Dr. Anju Singh ma'am to please propose the vote of thanks. Thank you.
Anju madam, you are not audible.
You muted, madam.
Am I audible, ma'am, right now? Ma'am, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Process of NAAC accreditation and assessment of legal education institutions in India. And it is my privilege to propose vote of thanks for this session. On behalf of Marathwada Legal and General Education Societies, Manikchand Pahade Law College, I extend my deep sense of gratitude to our resource person, Dr. Nidhi Buch ma'am, who is Head Placement and Internship Division and also Assistant Professor at GNLU, Gujarat National Law University, Gandhinagar, Gujarat, for her valuable guidance on roadmap for developing placement and internship culture in law colleges. Ma'am, your valuable guidance is going to help us, all the participants and all the faculties of law college during our NAAC preparations. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable guidance. I thank Dr. C.M. Rao sir, principal of our college, Vice Principal S.N. More sir, IQAC coordinator Dr. Aparna Kotapalle ma'am for their sincere efforts for organizing this online seminar on such important topic. I thank all the respected faculties, the teaching staff, non-teaching staff of our college and the technical team for the support who have joined online for this seminar. I thank student coordinator Soham for introducing our resource person and for wonderful conductions of these particular sessions. I thank the organizer for this wonderful opportunity. Over to Soham.
Thank you, ma'am. With the permission of our respected resource person and all the dignitaries, I now announce that we are hereby conclude the first day of our national level seminar, and I request all of you to please gather tomorrow here on this seminar, online seminar at sharp 10:30 a.m. to hear from our next session resource person, Dr. Vaijanti Joshi, Director, ILS Law College. Till then, have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. So with the permission of the chair, now I declare that today's all sessions are over and we are ending the meeting. Thank you one and all.